A player is either a professional player or an amateur player. FIFA only recognizes two statuses, that is the professional status and the amateur status. There is no in between. So you're either a professional player or you're an amateur player. In this video, I'm going to explain these two statuses to you very clearly. And I'll tell you what to look out for and how to be able to ascertain or tell which status a player maintains. Now let's get to the gist of this topic. How can we tell what status a player maintains? FIFA provides in its regulations on the status and transfer of players that a player will maintain professional status if two conditions exist. First, there must be a written contract with a club, and secondly, he must be paid more for his footballing activity than for the expenses he incurs while playing football. So these two conditions are conjunctive, which means they must both exist for a player to be called a professional player. There must be a written contract with a club, and that contract must stipulate that he is entitled to remuneration. And this remuneration must not be such that only covers for his expenses or the expenses he incurs while playing football, his transport expenses. He must go over and beyond. So if you have a written contract and it is silent on your remuneration, you are an amateur player, you are not a professional player. If you do not have a written contract and the club monthly pays you for your services, you are not a professional player. If you have a written contract with the club, but the club only reimburses you for all your expenditure or for all the expenditure you incur while playing football with them, you are an amateur player. The reason why this distinction is important is because of first, one principle, the principle of contractual stability. We must understand that an amateur player is free to move. In fact, the transfer window for amateur players is open year-round. An amateur player can move from one club to another. There are no restrictions. The only restrictions might be with registering these amateurs in competitions. So once the registration period for a competition has closed, you probably will not be able to participate in that competition. But you can be registered with that club. You can leave the club whenever you want to leave. So the amateur player is free to move. He is not bound by the principles of contractual stability. So if you're an amateur player and your club is telling you, you have to stay put here, no. You are free to move. You are free to leave. Now, unlike the amateur player, the professional player is bound by the principles of contractual stability, or the principle of contractual stability, which is that you have signed a contract and you must adhere to the terms of that contract. If the contract is for 3 years, you must stay with this club for 3 years and offer services for 3 years. You can't unilaterally terminate your employment agreement. If you unilaterally terminate your employment agreement, there will be consequences. One very crucial point we must make is that players must be careful, must be mindful of amateur contracts that have the semblance of a professional contract. They give you a contract, you sign the dotted lines. Before you sign the dotted lines, you ask questions. There is no salary provision in my contract. What is the problem? And they tell you, don't worry. You will receive your salary as at when due. We agreed orally. We'll pay you $1,000. We'll pay you $2,000. You agree. There and then they pay your sign-on fee after signing. But the payment was not made through the club's account. The payment was made through a third party or different third parties. The contract does not provide for protection against injury. It does not provide for who will take care of you if an injury occurs on the field of play. You sign the dotted lines, you're happy. Month after month, you're being paid by these third parties. You're participating in an amateur competition. You're not troubled. Then one day you get injured and you call the club. And the club tells you, we owe you no liability. We owe you no obligation. You are not an employee of the club. You must learn to guard your careers jealously. Be mindful of this sort of contracts. Be mindful.